Padre Ignacio raised his hands for the final blessing, but the bride's eyes held something darker than joy. Then the earth began to tremble, a sound like thunder rising from the desert beyond the plaza. A brown stallion, foam flying from its mouth, burst into the plaza, dragging a terrible burden. Lashed across the saddle by his boots, a dead man's body bounced with every stride. Mary's scream cut through the silence as she crumpled onto the church steps, veil falling. Beside her, Ryan froze, his face a careful mask of shock. Or was it something else? Padre Ignacio, clutching his Bible, stepped toward the lathered stallion, his eyes on the still form. He touched the man's neck, seeking a pulse, and his fingers brushed against folded paper in the pocket. The envelope, worn and stained, bore a single name in elegant script: Mary. Mary's eyes locked onto the envelope, and the color drained from her face. The priest's hand pressed against the cold neck. There was no life left in the man, only the weight of a secret folded in his pocket.
This letter, it has your name on it, Mary. Remove the body. This is a wedding, not a morgue. This poor soul will not be discarded. He will be brought inside and given dignity.
A murmur rippled through the guests. Someone whispered the man was a traveling musician from the next valley. Mary's breath caught. She pressed her hand to her mouth, but no sound came.
Enough, I said. Remove him. And I said no. Not until we understand why this letter bears her name.
The envelope trembled in the priest's grip. He did not open it, not yet, and Mary, still on her knees, could not tear her eyes away from the paper that held her secrets. Inside the chapel, Mary sat alone in a front pew, her wedding gown crumpled like a wilted flower.
You knew him, Mary. His name was Jeffrey. The village whispers say he was a musician.
I met him once. Only once. He was a stranger passing through.
Then why does this envelope bear your name? A man guards no letter he means to throw away.
It must be a mistake. I never wrote him. I barely remember him.
Padre, you are frightening her. She's been through enough today. We'll postpone the ceremony. This stranger's death, however tragic, is no concern of ours.
His arm slipped around her shoulders. Not a comfort, but a claim.
I will keep the letter for now, until we know what it truly means.
As Ryan led her away, Mary's eyes caught the priest's, and he saw a flash of something desperate. That night, in the sacristy, Padre Ignacio broke the seal and read the words Mary never meant anyone to see. My answer is yes, Jeffrey. I will marry you. I have loved no one else and never will. 3 weeks old, the priest's hand shook as he refolded the paper. He had to find Mary. He found her in her family's home, crouched in a corner, like a wounded bird.
You were betrothed to another man. Why then did you stand at the altar with Ryan?
I thought Jeffrey had abandoned me. He stopped coming to the village. I never knew why.
A woman who writes such a letter does not so quickly find a new groom. What are you hiding?
Nothing. I did nothing wrong. Please, Padre, believe me.
Before the priest could answer, a shadow fell across the threshold. Ryan, listening.
Enough of this. Tomorrow, Mary will be my wife. No more questions, Padre. No more delays.
After Ryan left, Mary sat frozen until the candle sputtered out. Then she ran into the night until she reached the chapel doors.
Mary, you came back. Now tell me everything. No more lies.
And so Mary began, her voice thick with tears, with the day Jeffrey knelt under the mesquite tree.
I have no land, no fortune, only a guitar and a horse. But I will love you until my last breath. Marry me.
She said yes. But weeks later, Ryan came to her father's house with 2 men and an ultimatum.
Your debts are cleared, old man, if I leave here with your daughter's hand. Otherwise, you lose this house before sunrise.
Hiding in the hallway, Mary heard every word. That same night, she wrote Jeffrey a letter, a wound disguised as mercy.
I told him I no longer loved him. I said he had to leave, for his own safety. He believed me.
You sacrificed your heart to save him, but someone still made sure he never came back.
Outside the chapel, the brown stallion stood in the moonlight, a silent sentinel, waiting for a justice only it understood. At dawn, Padre Ignacio gathered 3 men who still trusted the truth more than the merchant's coin and followed the stallion's tracks out of town. Under a twisted acacia, a broken guitar lay in pieces. A single hoofprint, dark and clotted, marked where the horse had reared.
This silver button, it belongs to a man who stood over him, a charro's jacket.
He pocketed the button. No words among the men could fill the silence that followed.
The wedding will proceed in 3 days. Let no more foolish rumors delay what is already decided.
3 days. It's a cage closing shut.
That evening, the priest found her hiding in the back of the chapel and opened his hand.
Do you recognize this?
It's from his jacket. The one Ryan wore the night he threatened my father.
The priest closed his fist around the button. A piece of metal was not enough to stop a wedding. Not yet. By noon, Ryan had heard the whispers. He strode into the plaza, turning confusion into a weapon.
My jacket was stolen months ago. Someone planted that button to smear me, and this priest, he's obsessed with my bride.
Lies. I serve only the truth. I found that button where a man was killed.
But Ryan's men had already spread his story. That night, Mary's mother came to her, eyes wet with fear.
He killed Jeffrey. I know it. How can you ask me to marry that monster?
Her answer came that same evening. Ryan's men dragged her father into the street and left him bruised in the dust. A warning, they said, delivered with a boot to the ribs. The priest arrived too late to stop it.
They'll kill us all. I need proof. Something that can't be bought or buried. The satchel. Jeffrey always said he kept his most precious things in a satchel near the ravine. If it's still there.
That night, she slipped out past the chapel, where the stallion still kept watch, and vanished into the dark. Mary followed a distant whinny through the thornbrush until she saw the stallion pawing at a mound of stones. Beneath a loose boulder lay a leather satchel, still bearing Jeffrey's initials, scratched into the strap. A crumpled note fell from inside. Leave this village by sunrise, musician, or you will never leave at all. Rar.
Ryan wrote this. He signed his own doom.
Clutching the satchel to her chest, she ran, the stallion breathing hard beside her, all the way back to the chapel. The priest was still kneeling in prayer when she stumbled inside and thrust the note into his hands.
Re for Ryan. This proves he threatened Jeffrey, but it's still not a confession to murder.
Then find the men who swung the club. I will not hide while he buries what's left of my family.
The priest looked at the woman before him, no longer a frightened bride, but a fighter forged in grief. Outside, the stallion lifted his head and screamed, a sound that echoed across the valley like a summons. Padre Ignacio carried the note to the sheriff at dawn, but the man's face was already set like stone.
A piece of paper with an initial. Ryan owns half the valley. I can't arrest him on this without a witness.
Then I will find you a witness. But first, protect this church before his men come for what we've found.
The sheriff's answer came, not in words, but in the sound of bolts sliding shut at Ryan's estate. That night, heavy boots broke the chapel silence. Ryan's men tore through pews, searching for the satchel.
They're going to kill us if they find it. Please, not yet.
Inside the sacristy, the priest pressed his mouth shut, the note already hidden in the hem of the altar cloth.
We cannot wait for the law to move. I know men in San Pedro who watch the cantinas for strangers.
He dispatched a young runner that same hour with a message for a trusted friend. Find the 2 who rode with Ryan. And Mary knelt in the wrecked chapel, praying not for salvation, but for the killers to still be breathing when they were found. 3 days crawled by before a boy staggered into the church with a message. One of Ryan's men was drinking in a cantina 2 towns over. By the time the priest's posse reached the cantina, Pablo was already slumped over a table, a single bullet hole in the back of his skull. Before they could mourn the loss of testimony, a second figure bolted from the back door. Mateo, wild-eyed and desperate, they chased him through thorn and dust, the priest's lungs burning, but Mateo was young, and fear gave him wings. Then a brown blur cut the path. Courage, the stallion, erupted from the brush, hooves striking the air. Mateo tripped, fell, and the horse stood over him, screaming again, a sound that froze the blood.
"Don't let him kill me. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Ryan paid us," he said, "just to scare the musician. But the other one swung too hard."
You will testify, and God will judge your soul. But first, you will help me deliver the man who bought your conscience.
The priest hauled Mateo onto his own horse, the stallion now walking calmly beside them, as if the hunt had been its own. The stallion's scream had been a summons, and now one of the killers had answered, dragged into daylight by the very beasts that had witnessed the crime. Back at the church, Mateo was hidden in the sacristy, his wrists bound, his confession spilling like water from a broken jug.
Tell me every detail. How did Ryan pay you? Who swung the club?
"He promised pesos and land. We waited on the road at night. When the musician passed, I held the horse while Pablo hit him from behind. Then the stallion went mad."
The sheriff's pen scratched out the warrant. For the first time, Ryan's name sat beside the word murder, but the village was a tinderbox. Ryan's allies gathered men and threats, promising blood if their patron was touched. Mary slipped from the church to her parents' home, needing comfort, finding only anger.
You brought this shame. They beat me, and now the whole village thinks we're whores and fools. Leave. Run far from here. Even my own blood sees me as the crime, not the victim. Then I'll be the one to stand where no one else will.
She walked into the plaza with the priest beside her, the letter and the note in her hands, and faced the crowd that had come to bury her.
My name is Mary. I loved a man named Jeffrey, and I was forced to deny him. But I will not be silenced. I will testify against Ryan, and I will name every lie he has told. Let him answer for it.
Ryan heard the shouts, seized a pistol, and galloped for the desert, but Courage caught his scent. The stallion cut across his path like a living wall of fury. Hooves struck the air. Ryan's horse screamed and buckled, and the merchant hit the ground. The pistol spun away. The stallion stood over him, hooves planted, eyes blazing with something like justice. Sheriff and villagers closed in. Ryan was yanked to his feet in the dust where Jeffrey's body had fallen. Mary watched from the church steps, tears cutting clean tracks through the dirt on her face.
Here is the truth. A man who threatened a musician and the woman he tried to force.
Ryan, you are charged with conspiracy to murder. The witness has spoken.
The crowd that had cheered for the wedding now watched in silence as the merchant was hauled away. Only when the cell door clanged did Mary let herself make a sound, a single sob that carried Jeffrey's name. That night, the chapel filled with the glow of a dozen candles. On the altar, Jeffrey's body lay wrapped in white linen, his face finally at peace.
Forgive me, Jeffrey. I told you to leave, and you listened. I should have begged you to stay.
She slid the letter from her sleeve, the one she had written accepting his proposal, and pressed it between his still fingers.
Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May his soul, and all the souls of the faithful departed, rest in peace.
For the first time since the wedding, Mary wept without shame. Every tear carried a confession, a goodbye, a promise. Outside, the brown stallion stood motionless at the chapel door, his great head lowered, his breath steaming in the cold. He would not be moved. He had carried his master 30 kilometers to the only place Jeffrey said he wanted to be. Now he would wait as long as it took to see him home. When Mary stepped out, the stallion turned his head and nudged her shoulder. Not a demand, but a comfort.
You and I are bound by the same grief. You loved him, and so did I. We'll carry that together.
The stallion didn't leave the door until dawn, and when he did, Mary walked beside him. Two souls shaped by the same loss, refusing to break. The makeshift courtroom fell silent. Mateo's confession was read aloud. Every detail of the night. Jeffrey died.
Ryan paid us, he said, just to scare him. But Pablo swung too hard.
Here is the button from his jacket, the threat note in his hand. This was no accident.
The judge's gavel struck once. Guilty of murder. You will spend the rest of your life in chains. Ryan was led past Mary without a word. She stared at the floor, her heart still shackled to a different cell.
The marriage is annulled, Mary. You are free. And Jeffrey's small estate, his house, his horse, they're yours. You were the only name he ever mentioned.
He gave me nothing I asked for, and everything I needed. I'll make a home of it.
The empty charro suit, still hung on a peg by the door. Ryan's wedding coat, now just an echo of a threat. Outside, the stallion stood waiting. She touched his neck, and this time, he pressed his face against her side. Mary pushed open the door of Jeffrey's small adobe house. Dust swirled in the afternoon light, and in the corner leaned a guitar with a cracked neck.
He played this for me. The strings are silent now, but not forever.
She found a charcoal sketch of herself on the table, drawn with such care that she could see his hand in every line.
I'll hang this in the school, so the children know where music comes from.
Outside, Kurashi nickered, and Mary filled his trough with fresh water. The stallion drank, then rested his muscle against her shoulder. Weeks later, a neighbor came running. A foal had been born in the night, a perfect copy of Coraje with a white star on its forehead. She named it Esperanza, hope. The foal's legs wobbled, but when it stood for something.
You are the promise that love outlasts death. I'll teach every child in this village that.
So Mary opened a small school with Coraje and Esperanza often grazing by the window. The guitar hung on the wall beside a portrait of Jeffrey, and in the evenings when the children went home, she would pluck a single string and watch the foal stretch its legs across the pasture. A new rhythm of life. The seasons turned, and the school grew fuller each year. Mary taught reading and writing, but she also taught something harder to measure: courage. She still rode Coraje to the cemetery every Sunday, leaving wild flowers on the grave of the man who'd given her everything. A decade passed, and the stallion's muzzle grayed. Esperanza became a spirited young horse, but Coraje remained her shadow. The letter, now soft as cloth, lived in a small wooden box on her desk, taken out only when a child asked about the portrait on the wall. She told them about the horse who carried a dead man to a wedding, and the children listened, eyes wide as moons. At fiestas, the village called it Coraje's wedding, and the old horse would parade with ribbons. A legend in living flesh, Coraje lived another 10 years, never straying far from the village, content to watch his son race the wind. Mary, with more silver in her hair, would sit on the porch and watch the sunset, her heart full but never again searching for a wedding ring. She never remarried. She said once that she'd already given her yes to a man who kept his promise, even in death. And Esperanza ran, a white star blazing, as if to prove that from the darkest of days, something wild and bright could still be born. One evening, as the sun melted into the hills, an elderly Mary sat on her porch, stroking the old brown stallion's muzzle. A cluster of children, barefoot and curious, gathered at her feet. They always came when the light turned soft.
You want to hear it again? Very well. It was a day like any other wedding day, but the horse had other plans.
She pulled the faded letter from her sleeve, its edges soft as silk from years of careful unfolding. Behind her, the chapel spire caught the last light of day, a silent witness to the legend she was about to tell again. The children sat with their chins in their hands, already disappearing into the dust of that wedding day. Coraje, now gray around the muzzle, let out a long breath. Even he seemed to be listening. Esperanza raised her head from the grass, the white star on her forehead glowing in the dusk. The camera pulled back until the village was a cluster of warm lights under a violet sky, a postcard of tenacity and love. Coraje's wedding, they called it, and it would be told as long as there were ears to hear it. Decades later, the annual fiesta bloomed with lanterns and laughter, filling the plaza with music. An old charro, his face a map of hard years, gathered the children on the chapel steps. He pointed to the worn stones where the hoofbeats still echoed in memory. Right there, the horse stopped, and the bride screamed. A small voice dared, "Is it true?" The question hung in the air like smoke from the lanterns. The old man smiled. True enough that a man's love and a horse's loyalty can defy death. The story had outgrown its bitter roots, becoming a myth that belonged to everyone who heard it. In the school, the love letter rested in a shadow box beside a charcoal portrait of a young musician. And at every parade, a brown horse with a white star led the procession, carrying the memory forward. Coraje's wedding had become the village's most told story, told at every fiesta until the words felt as old as the adobe walls. It was no longer just a tragedy. It was a testament passed from tongue to tongue, from hoofbeat to heartbeat. For the horse named Coraje, loyalty was not a choice. It was a force that carried him across 30 kilometers of desert, dragging the weight of a promise he could not abandon. And Mary, who paid for a forced choice with a lifetime of solitude, found a different kind of devotion, teaching children to read, to love, to remember.
And that is why we tell stories, so that love is never truly lost.
The letter, now, in a simple frame, caught the morning light, its ink fading, but its promise never dimmed. A single guitar chord hung in the air, played by no one, heard by everyone who knew the tale. In a sunlit pasture, an old stallion grazed beside his son, their coats warm with the last light of day. The village rested under a quiet sky, its ghosts finally at peace, and Mary, long gone, still teaches from the echo of a letter that love is not a thing that dies when a heart stops beating. The letter, a confession of love, became something more, a silent vow that outlasted betrayal, murder, and time. One last chord, and then silence. The dusty road where the horse first appeared is empty now. The church steps, once the altar of a shattered wedding, are worn clean by time. A grave marker reads, "Jeffrey, beloved musician, and beloved of Mary." A young couple lays wildflowers. A child on a brown horse with a white star laughs, chasing the wind. The wooden school doors close gently, as they have every evening for 40 years. In a small Mexican village, a wedding was halted, a murder was revealed, and a horse became a legend. Not because of violence, but because of love that refused to be forgotten. This was Coraje's wedding, a story that gallops through the heart of the village. And as long as there are people to tell it, the hoofbeats will never truly fade. Good night, and may your own stories be told just as long. The old stallion stood on a hill overlooking the village, his muzzle silver in the dawn. Behind him, a ghostly silhouette seemed to shimmer, a young man with a guitar, smiling. The horse shook his head, snorted softly, and walked on into the light. Coraje lived another decade, never straying far from the village where he had delivered his master. And when he died, the children buried him beside Jeffrey, under the mesquite tree, where the guitar once played. The village still tells the story, not of a wedding, but of a horse who loved his master, enough to bring him home. And in the quiet hours, some say you can still hear hoofbeats on the road, followed by a single guitar chord. The screen holds on the empty road, then slowly fades to black, and the story, like all legends, returned to silence. The sun rose over the adobe village. Satellite dishes now dotted the roofs. but the chapel still stood unchanged. A young man stepped off a dusty bus, carrying an old guitar case. He had crossed an ocean to find this place. He found an elder near the plaza, sitting under a faded awning, and asked if he knew the tale of Corage's wedding. The old man's face softened. "Sit, hijo. I will tell you the whole truth." The young man opened his case and drew out a worn envelope, its edges soft as silk. He unfolded the letter inside and read aloud. "My answer is yes, for all of time." A warm breeze lifted the letter from his hand and laid it on a wooden table, open to those words. The elder stared at it, then looked toward the chapel. She wrote that. "Who are you, muchacho?" The young man replied, "I am their great-grandson." The letter was kept by Mary until she died. Credits begin to roll over the image of the letter, now resting beside the guitar case, in a village where stories never fade.